All right, everyone, we are back with our ATST. Just to share my screen again here so you can see what we're doing. And for some reason it's not sharing, so try this again. There it is. All right, so our reference photo, this is what we're drawing today. We're gonna go ahead and get right back to where we left off. So we were starting the legs. It didn't take us too long to draw the legs on our AT-ATs last week. So let's see if we can just pencil these guys in here. What I'm going to do first is make my anchor points. Anchor points being the skeleton of my piece here. So we've got our graph lines, which I'm lining up with the graph lines that I made on the drawing. So we're about right here. I'm fully clear of the head. So just making a little circle here, which is going to be connecting up to another circular piece right here. So that's one line I'm going to make. The next one is the ankle, which is coming down almost straight, maybe just a tad bit off right here. Which is then coming down to almost the floor down here into this nice upside down bowl shape. Right here. So there's our first leg. Our second leg is actually going to come out. So it's coming down this middle line. Okay. So it's probably about a little bit to the left of it, but the ankle is smack on that intersection right there. And then the angle for this part is going to be the same as this part. Might just be a little smaller in terms of distance. And then we draw our next little upside down bowl. Okay, so we've penciled in where our feet are going to go and our legs. So now let's go ahead and draw the outline of this. Once we do that, we're going to do some quick shading. There's not a lot of shading on this, but enough to make it 3D. So let's go. I'm going to start up here and just beef up these circles here. It's not a perfect circle. It's just like a wide oval. So lightly, I'm going to turn that into more of an oval. You guys have done so well hanging in there. This is quite an advanced class. Sometimes we get better by doing things that are difficult for us. We're always doing something that's easy. We're never going to be stretched. But what you'll also find is as you do things that are more difficult, you are going to come back to those easier videos or easier classes and realize you are way better at them. You are drawing way better than you anticipated you would because you're coming at it with new eyes and new skills. So sometimes, yeah, it's frustrating to take a break into something more difficult, but the things that you will learn just mentally and how to cope in a difficult class, even getting mad at the teacher at times, is going to push you forward when it comes to easier classes. So after this class, you may want to break, you may go search out an easier course. But again, you're going to find that you are 10 times more adept in that class. And you're going to realize really quickly that you're no longer a beginner. You're going to realize that you can look at a picture yourself and draw it without having to have somebody do it for you, which is really what YouTube is. It's somebody who's already figured out all the problems, and you're just basically copying what they do. Um, After a class like this, I would hope that you can attempt to look at a reference photo and just go for it on your own. I teach that way so that you can be independent, so that you can draw that way and also help you develop your own style. Because if you're always copying people off YouTube or something like that, you're really just developing their style. You know, you can be inspired by watching people. I mean, I definitely do that. But if that's all you do, if you're like, if somebody asks you to draw something Star Warsy, you wouldn't want. They're wanting you. They're not wanting that person on YouTube. If they were, they'd hire that person. So developing your own style is a difficult thing. Right now, I'm going to pause and just say I'm just kind of scratching in some random shapes here. It's very, very, very bird-like machine. Just so interesting. So challenge yourself. Maybe let that be one of your greatest takeaways from this class is try to branch out and do it yourself. Try to solve the problems on your own. Have a friend pose for you if you want a specific way of standing. Or like in my last class, Star Wars yourself, find a pose online and try to draw that pose instead of just using somebody else's imagination and whatever pose they decided to get. All right, I want to get this in the right spot. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to break this box into thirds again like we did last time and put that little pop out right here. It's coming down and it's going out into a little squiggle and then down into that ankle part. Can put in some details from that ankle. We will just come coming down. I'm going to erase the lines inside of this and this foot. It's connecting to the ankle here. Just in turn. Coming down here. Do a little cleanup. And then you've got your detailed bump here, which this is probably used like a big toe or a pinky toe to help this machine balance. All right, other side. Other side. We'll do something very, very similar, except that little tab that's here is going to be closer to this line. So coming down. It's like that, like that, like that. See those angles? I found those by just measuring, because these two legs are identical, right? So just measuring where the one falls here and where it falls here and just drawing that line. And all of those are going to be the same angle, okay? And they should end up that way, in that same angle. So I'm coming down. Once I do that, I know I can pop. This is actually going to be a little bit bigger too. So coming down, popping out, got your little doohickey thing here. Coming back down to that ankle part. The ankle is coming down, just like on the other side. To that little bump. Which is in turn turning into our little foot. Coming down to that little balance piece. Just coming out like this. All right. There. So there we go. So that's the basics of our piece. Let's hop back up to the top. We'll do some shading. I'm going to take my little mini shader pencil here since it's past the point of drawing. And let's go ahead and doll this little guy up. Before I do that, I'm going to clean him up by erasing all of my ruler lines. No longer need these. For the shading, I'm just going to eye it. If I need a ruler, we'll add them as we need to. for the most part, you're done with this drawing. No longer need our proportion ruler lines to get it right. Oh, yeah, that little guy. Boom, boom. I also forgot this. Put that in. Okay. Now back to the cleanup. Some people like to keep their ruler lines on their drawings. I just don't really care to clean them up. But I don't mind them being faint. Just tells people a little bit more that you drew it yourself instead of traced it. But sometimes you do want it to look professional, or you do want to scan it into your computer to look nice for a portfolio, in which case I do like to clean them up. Okay, so the majority of my inner lines are erased. So we've already shaded inside the eyes up here. So I'm just going to do a little shading around here, just starting from the top. Looking at my picture and my values. So on the top part here, I'm just going to draw squiggles because it's really tight circular motions here. Because it's a really not a high quality picture and I'm not sure what's going on up here. If you want it to be more detailed, you can look up a different reference photo. My reference photo is not the best, but I liked this angle, which is why I chose this one. All right, so I'm turning my pencil to the side as I shade so I can have more control, but I'm fuzzing in the side here, getting a little darker as I go down. And of course it's a little darker under this little crevice here. This is not my darkest dark, so I'm just doing one pass on these and then putting a little more pressure where I see it going dark. After I do this, let's take a break and find our darkest darks. So we already have the eyes. Another darkest dark is inside this mouth here, but it's not all darkest dark, so just get the ones in that you know. And if you've accidentally colored in the whole thing, you can erase areas to make them a little lighter. Okay. Coming down underneath here. It's pretty dark to the right of this, and then coming underneath. Over here, got some dark parts on this strange thing here. It's mostly dark. And then this is a round piece, so it's going to be darker on the edges as it comes in. This big circular part here, can be difficult to shade circular things, so just take your time. I always like to go in the same direction as the shape. If you go in a straight line, it's not going to quite give you the effect you want. And then we drew this line going down the side of the face of this machine. So very lightly, and making second passes when I need to. By second pass, I mean going over once, going over twice in the same direction. So just hashing it over and over again. That's what I call a pass. I'm going to erase this up here because you can't really see that line all too much. Got a little bit of haze under here and a little bit on the side. Okay. Coming down on the inside of this shape a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go to the legs because the inner workings here, they're going to take time. You really just have to take it one line at a time when it comes to this stuff. So yeah, I'll go ahead and put it in. Some scruffy shapes in there. Drawing some darker lines for the turrets. I'm also going in different directions as I shade in here because even though I can't necessarily see all the shapes, if it's going in different directions, it looks like there's more happening in there. Okay. Okay, so this piece has a distinctive line of shade there. Darkening underneath. And it's going to cast a shadow over here. Onto whatever this is. Now this piece is not white, so I'm just going to do a cover shade. This one's lighter than that one, but a cover shade, and then just adding another pass where it needs a little darker. Here's a little darker. It's interesting stuff. All the shapes we have drawn in this class are very difficult shapes. That's what makes this class advanced. is that the shading is advanced. Almost done. The legs are not difficult. Just getting in those darker areas where you see them. Remember, it's not necessarily where you feel they should be, it's where you see them. So when you're drawing something from a reference, it has light pointing on it in a certain place. So if it looks like it should have a shadow, look closely and make sure that it actually does before you draw that shadow in. I'm not going to get too detailed with the shading on this, honestly, because I like that scruffy look. I'm in a scruffy look kind of mood today. I'm liking that rough look. Yeah. All right. I think this looks completely awesome. These always turn out so much better than you anticipate that they will. Especially when you look at this and you're like, I don't even know where to start when it comes to that. But now we're done and we're thinking, I can't believe I just drew that. So, all right. Well, I will see you guys. This is the last week coming up where we're going to do some Mandalorian ships. All right. I'll see you later. Bye.